I think the biggest thing is, it just feels like you're constantly training and developing, and you never really get that chance to go prove, what you've, gotten to develop and train, and you get to practice and lift and all this stuff, but you don't ever get that feeling and that satisfaction of, going out there and, having stats lined up over a course of a season where you get to reflect on that, develop for the next year. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is it feels like you kind of get robbed of a year a little bit. Not in the sense that you don't get to develop and get better, but just having that like feedback of, how well you're doing and how you're tracking. Honestly, not a whole lot. I think it's kind of something that's been going on for so long. You kind of just accept it, like it just kind of is the new normal. And that just goes back to we're here. We've got to make the best of it and prepare for our seasons the best we can. Right. For the most part, I think it's fairly similar as far as like the baseball side. I know some of the games are shorter, and you got some kind of weird little details coming about that. As far as the COVID stuff, it's a little different, but I'm happy that we're here and we're getting to have some semblance of normal, even though it's not really. Yeah, I think so. Definitely. You come back for the second one and you kind of have that previous experience of the first one to go off of. And this year's kind of been more of the same, continuing to develop all my off speed stuff. And then just also continuing to learn from the older guys who've been here and done it more. For me, it was, I believe, the 2018 College World Series is when I first did it. And the only reason I actually tried it was because I think I was facing Nick Madrigal, Oregon State. And I looked up at the scoreboard and it said he had struck out 5 times all year, which is absurd, by the way. So I was just thinking, what do I have to do to get this guy out? And I ended up like throwing some loopy backdoor curveball off like a quick pitch or something, and it floated down in the strike zone and I got him. But that was kind of the first thing when I ever started trying it. So. Right. I think honestly, from top to bottom, I think you see a lot of really talented arms, and for me, that's one thing I really love because when you have a culture, especially a pitching culture that's as good as it is here, everybody's got to show up and you've got to be really good every day, and just having that competitive atmosphere to be around is going to push everybody to be better. Yes. That guy for me, and I think several others, was probably Tyrone Taylor. It felt like he was hitting 600 when he was there. It just felt like even when you got him out, he was hitting the ball hard or somewhere. So, I think a lot of us joked about that. It's just like, how do we get this guy out? Because he was on fire back then. Yeah, for sure. I think that probably is one of the best things about alternate site because up until that point, minus I think maybe 2 innings last year in spring training, I hadn't really faced any of those that type of level of hitter yet. And sometimes you have to face them, especially in Appleton, twice in the same inning, and you're like, well, crap, how do I do this? So I think that part of it was definitely good, being able to face those guys of a much higher caliber than I've played so far, and possibly having to face them twice in the same inning, and coming up with different solutions to get those guys out definitely helps. It's tough, because one of the best things about this game is always going up against somebody else and competing. And one thing is for sure, it kind of gets a little repetitive when you're just doing the same thing day in and day out. So you've got to really make sure you're locked in and focused on your development. But one thing, like I said, I'm really happy about is hopefully this year we get to have a full season and we get to play against other people. Maybe a little bit, you just, I guess that's more of a thing is, is it harder to be locked in, in that kind of environment when, there's no fans in the stands, you're not really playing an opponent. It's more of like a simulated scrimmage. And I think that could definitely be a challenge, and, kind of just really being mentally in there every day is probably part of that too. Right. That's definitely exciting. I would say that I really don't want to try to get too caught up in that, because the whole thing about me is just, you got to stick with the process, continue to get better, And then really that's just the day-to-day grind, that a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes as much as as much as it is on the field. So I'm just going to keep trying to focus on that. And obviously, the big leagues are the goal. I would say a lot of people think it's a really high spin rate fastball, and I would say that's not exactly the case. I think a lot of it has to do more so with um, an extension number, like whatever that distance is from home to wherever I'm releasing the ball, and then also just a vertical break number with, I guess, probably more so spin efficiency. It's probably flirting with 98 to 100%, and then also that big extension number gets that rise on the fastball late in the zone. Right. I would say the biggest thing from last year is last year I came in um, really wanting to develop a fourth pitch, and that was kind of the slider. And from where it was at last year, this time to this year, this time is pretty drastic difference, and I'm pretty happy where that's going. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing I've been working on. It's been incredible, man. The guy's nasty to say the least. He's been my throwing partner every day, and we've been bouncing stuff off each other every day, and kind of been in the same groups and stuff like that. So it's really good to see him doing well like that, and hope he continues to do that.